Welcome to an enlightened hour of interactive talk. This is Guided Spirit Conversations with host Marla Goldberg. In this program, we spotlight guests from all over the globe who have helped others change their lives and will provide you with the tips, tools, and techniques that you need to help you make a difference in your own life. Now, here is Marla Goldberg.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? It's Thursday, and Thursday is Guided Spirit Conversations Day. I'm Marla Goldberg, your host, and I am so happy to have Charles Paul Curcio with me today. Charles is a gifted healer since he was a young boy. He began his spiritual studies as a young man and used these principles to become a successful entrepreneur and self-made man. Charles is the founder and former CEO of Tire Kingdom in 1996. In 1996, he retired from his business to devote his life to healing, teaching, and service to God. In work as a director and instructor at Delphi University, which you hear me talk about a lot, Charles teaches channeling, healing, metaphysics, and has taught and introduced many alternative healing therapies such as color and sound healing, crystal healing, sacred language, and laser crystal surgery. Charles is also the author of The New Day, an autobiography, Entrepreneur's Guide, and Spiritual Primer. Charles is also the president of the Church of Wisdom, which he and his lovely wife, Kimberly, are directors. He and Kimberly are the builders of the beautiful Temple of Wisdom complex at Delphi. Charles is also the chief financial officer. You wear a ton of hats, Charles. Welcome.
Wow, I didn't realize I had that many hats. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So, Charles, I love to start at the beginning. You said as a child you knew, but you didn't know you were healing. Do you have any, how did you know? What incidences happened that gave you some inkling?
Well, I used to work for my father. My father had a steak and hoagie shop in North Philadelphia. So every Saturday I'd work for my dad, and at dinner time I would go visit my grandmother who lived a couple blocks away. And grandma, she had significant arthritis and she had the gout. And so I'd see her, and after I'd kiss her and say hello, she'd say, she couldn't say Charles because she was Italian, so she called me Chata. She said, Chata, put your hands on grandma's knees. And so I would put my hands on her knees, and she said, oh, Dolly, that feels so good. Now put your hands on grandma's ankles. So what she was doing was having me do healings on her. And then every now and then she'd say, come on, we go see Guma Sophie. She feel good. And she'd take me around the neighborhood. And for the life of me, I couldn't understand why they wanted me to put my hands on them, And I'd forgotten the whole thing. And then one night I was working on a woman in our sanctuary who looked like my grandmother. The whole thing came flooding back to me. I said, oh my God, she was training me to be a healer, unbeknownst to me. And it lay dormant for about 40 years before I really, started to actually do that.
Yeah, but you have another story that I found so fascinating, one that had to do with your father. This was also before you sort of stepped into your healing shoes on a full-time basis.
Yeah, that's right. I like most healers, I started with Reiki. I learned Reiki, and I was doing Reiki healings on anybody who would let me, like my children for athletic injuries, my mother-in-law. And one day I get a call from my brother-in-law, and he told me about his brother-in-law's child she was born at 6 months. She was bleeding from the brain. They were just waiting for her to die. So day before that, I'm having dinner with my dad. And my father had lung cancer at this point, but he was still mobile. And so every time I'd see him, I'd hug him and I'd send him love. And I did, oh God, maybe 100 healings on him. I knew we would work on to heal his cancer because he just couldn't let go of those thoughts that created it in the first place. Right. So my family was away in Colorado. My wife had hired a cook for me and dad. And so I came home. My dad was still mobile, so he drove to my house. So I came home after work that night, and I walk in the kitchen, and Steve, the cook, is there. And I said, Steve, where's my dad? And he says, oh, he's in the living room. So I go see my dad, and I had just had a healing, that day. So I grabbed my dad, and I held him in my arms and breathed love into my heart and sent it to him. And after about the second breath, son of a gun, he dies right in my arms. His lungs deflate, his eyes go wide open, he goes, and he literally dies in my arms. I knew it was surprising to me. I knew exactly what to do. So I set him back down on the sofa. I put my two fingers, my left hand to his temple, his right temple, and I started calling him back. I said, Dad, no, it's not time for you yet. There's other things you need to do. And I did that for about 2 minutes. All of a sudden, he jumps up, takes a breath, and says, all right, I'm hungry. Let's eat. So I said, Dad, do you know what just happened? And he kind of had a puzzled look, and he said, oh yeah. I was just sleeping, but now I'm back. and I said, well, great. So he runs into the kitchen, sits down, starts eating. I go in the kitchen. Steve, the cook, had watched and seen all this, and he's trembling in the corner. I said, Steve, are you okay? He says, did what just happened in there really happen? I said, well, and I'm as calm as a cucumber, right? And I'm saying, well, Steve, what do you think happened? He said, he died, right? He died. And you brought him back, right? Right? And so I said, well, Steve, is that what you think happened? And he says, yeah. And I said, well, I think that happened too. But as you can see, he's all right. He's over there chowing down. I'm okay. And if you're okay, why don't we just all sit down and have dinner? So we did. I never saw Steve again. He didn't even come back from the paycheck. So sometimes those experiences, are more than you're expecting or can handle. I mean, I was quite surprised that I was able to do this. And, it really just kind of enhanced my desire to become more spiritual, to be a better healer.
And at this time, you had the Tire Kingdom, correct? You were doing
I
the
did,
Tire
yeah.
Kingdom and all
Yeah.
those fun commercials.
Yeah, I was still having fun making commercials. That was about the only fun. But yeah, I did. I was still working then, but I was really getting more and more involved in spirit, and I was my desire was so strong to do more, to know more, to learn more. And the more I learned, the less I knew, and so I think that still goes on. But
I agree.
So I mean, I thought it was great. I mean, my God, that baby, by the way, that I was talking about, we were able to give her a healing too. She survived.
How wonderful.
Well, I found out later that one of the nursery nurses had dropped her on her head, and that's why she was bleeding. And another nurse finally came forward, and but that was what a blessing. I mean, Mother Mary came in, and she guided me through that whole process. And this was the day after I killed my dad. I was afraid. I wasn't afraid, but I was worried about putting my hands on this baby. So I went into the pediatric ICU at St. Mary's Hospital, West Palm, Good Samaritan, hospital in West Palm Beach, and she was in the pediatric ICU, and I just started by putting one hand in the incubator. Then I was told by Mary to do another, and then after a while, I just had this little tiny thing in my hands, and the energy was so strong, Marla, I could hardly hold it myself. And I swear, she just smiled and laid back and just took it in, and it lasted, I'm not sure how long, maybe 45 minutes or an hour, and then it just stopped, just like that. And I knew she was going to be fine, and I told her parents that. I said, look, don't worry about her, she's going to be fine. In 21 days, they're going to release her to you. Sure enough, 21 days later, they did. And so I was just so, I'm getting emotional now. I was just so caught up in this notion of God and love and service that I realized that this would be my life going forward.
That's powerful. And this lucky young lady, I'm assuming she's a young lady by now. She's got to be what, 20?
23, 20. She's graduated from college. The only problem she has a slight slight defect in the motor reflex in her left hand. That's it.
So, I mean, what a miracle, that Mother Mary was able to guide you to heal her, and she only has a little, impediment with her hand.
Well, it's interesting too. She was born on the same day as I was, so I took that as a sign.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. Signs are so important. Symbols and signs are so important to pay attention to. Don't you agree?
I do. That's how God speaks to us, through symbols, through signs, through intuition. That's how the universe communicates with us. And so, yeah, I think the trouble is most people don't pay attention. I sometimes kick myself in the butt. I get an intuitive spark, or an insight, and I don't follow it. Like yesterday, I mean, simple things too, little things like yesterday, I wanted to. I went on a trip. I drove to North Carolina and back, and all of a sudden my nav system doesn't work. My phone, I can't get Siri on the phone. you know. But that morning, I don't know why, I printed out the directions and I said, "Oh, I should take these with me." But I did it. But my intuition was telling me that I should. Even little things like that. I mean, we should just pay attention.
But a lot of people say, oh, only if you have the ability to be psychic or intuitive, whichever word you want to interchange with. But really, everybody has this. Isn't this the case?
Everybody has spiritual gifts and abilities. Some are more, say, more clairvoyant. Some are clairsentient. Some are clairaudient. Others may have other gifts like scent and smell and taste. But we all have these spiritual abilities. They were incorporated into our physiology on our journey to the earth. Earth isn't the first place we came to; it's the
Right.
last place. And so everybody has them in varying stages of development. Most people don't know they have them, but every one of us has had some intuitive episodes, like I just knew something, or I felt it. And it's a question of, first of all, we're all children of God. We're spiritual beings trying to be human. And so these spiritual gifts our nature is spiritual. And so we can access these gifts from the divine, but you have to make the connection in order to do that. I tell students, you can't get the gifts of the divine unless you get the download. And the download you can meditation. I mean, that's one of the simplest ways through any kind of spiritual expression. You can make that connection. I do it in healing, and I do it in meditation. But it's making that connection that allows your higher self to give you those gifts of light, those gifts of healing, those spiritual gifts.
And it's truly making a difference. But it's clearing your head out. That's why when you ask a question and then all of a sudden you're driving, you're taking a shower, and boom, you get your answer.
Yeah.
It's because your mind is empty. You're not thinking of ruminating over all the stuff that normally fills the space.
Well, the mind is a wonderful thing with limits. The mind, the mind is great. Without the mind, we couldn't have an ego. We couldn't have a self. We couldn't be an I am. Without the mind enables us to have thoughts, to have attitudes, to have understanding of who we are, what we are. So we have this mental body that enables us to not just identify and create our own ego, but it's what we create with. Your world is a reflection of your thoughts and feelings. And so if you have low thoughts and feelings, you have low experience. If you have higher thoughts and feelings, you'll have higher experiences. So, it's important to, if you want to change your life, you change your mind.
It's so true. I say to some people who are who are close to me, family members, that, the things you do and say are a reflection of how you feel about yourself, level of self-love, acceptance.
Mm-hmm. And the universe is going to validate what you want, what you think, what you expect. They're going to give you that.
Can you explain how that works for people who may not be aware of how your thoughts and actions and projections are like magnets to bring the same to you?
Well, all of us we're like a broadcaster, a transceiver. We both send out and receive signals. One of the fundamental laws of energy is like attracts like. So if you're putting out fear, you're putting out insecurity, you're putting out God knows what. Whatever energy you're putting out there, you're going to attract thought forms and energies of the same vibration. And so, if a person says, I hate myself, then she's going to attract self-hate. But if a person says, I love nature, then they'll attract something greater than that. The love of nature is one of the easiest ways to recognize God without actually committing yourself to doing it. I used to laugh. The existentialist, it's John Paul Sartre. And it was interesting. There was two groups. One group was theological, so they believed in God. The other group were atheistic. They didn't believe in God. But it was amazing about the atheistic ones. Every one of them had a love of nature, which is really, after we separated from the Godhead, I mean, our first step back into recognizing and interacting with God was through nature. Shamanism was the first spiritual expression that occurred after we came to the planet.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That's interesting.
So I thought these guys were just a little behind the curve. Of course, I was behind the curve until I had my wake up call, and I think so many of us are. We get so preoccupied with life and duty and jobs and leisure that we don't. So as they say, we don't stop to smell the roses.
That's why a lot of people tend to wake up in their late 40s or early 50s, because a lot of their duties have been done. You've raised your children to a certain age, you've worked your butt off for a period of time, and all of a sudden now you have this wake up call, and it happens different ways for different people. Sometimes your world has to collapse and you have to hit bottom. Now that's my experience before I found my spiritual path. Other people have other experiences that bring them to them, but it's usually after those duties are completed. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. The wake up age for men is typically between 45 and 50. And with a strong male energy in a woman, the same thing's going to happen. At a time when they should be celebrating their lives, they paid the mortgage, they got the kids out of the basement, at a time when they should be celebrating, they're not. You see, men don't have the ability to value things. The masculine energy doesn't value things. It takes the feminine energy to do that. So typically for a man, something happens in life. He gets sick, he takes a sabbatical, goes middle-aged crazy. There's a funny movie with Bruce Stern. He went middle-aged crazy, bought a Corvette, quit his job, and started wearing his old high school football helmet around. But anyway, this is when the feminine shows up. But the feminine is not very happy about being shelved for 25 or 30 years. So she comes, the archetype is called the hideous damsel. So she comes and tells him how useless his life has been. And so she denigrates him, but that's not why she's there. She's there to put him on the path. And so, so if he accepts and embraces his feminine, then all of a sudden a man has to get childlike, and then the feminine shows up, and that's what leads him to God. But he has to get childlike in order to do that. He has to he has to gain back that innocence that he had once as a young boy. And for women, it's a similar archetype if they've got a strong male energy. We're all male and female.
Right, we're balanced.
You may be a woman, but we both have masculine and feminine energies. Christ consciousness is the marriage of those two. It's the harmonic blending of masculine and feminine.
I love it. Let's hang on to this for a second. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned for more with Charles Curcio.
All right, great job. We're all clear. Back in a couple minutes.
Thank you. I love where this is going.
Oh, thanks. I don't know where it's going.
That's the beauty of it. It's very organic, and I like just the flow of it. Where I do want to get into talking about Delphi, I want to let people know what Delphi is about and what you offer and your experience that you went there and you never left, basically, once you got there.
That's almost true. Yeah.
Well, look at all, once you went to Delphi, look at how much shifted for you, and you came back and you're now family. You're part of the family business.
I've been here 25 years. That's still surprising to me. I don't know where the time went. I just don't.
And I'm sure it went like that because of all that you're giving and doing and living and being able to live. Did you ever meet Mauricio, or was he gone by the time you came around?
I only met Mauricio in spirit. No, he was, I got here in 96. He died in 93.
Okay.
So no, I only know him through interactions I've had with him energetically.
Okay.
One time I was getting a healing, and all of a sudden he shows up and he's on my chest, pulling stuff out of my heart. I saw him, it's like I'm looking at you. He said, I'm just here to help. Thank you.
How loving is that?
Yeah, he's an interesting man. More than a man, he was a great spiritual being, I think. And not that he wasn't human. Everybody's human. Even the great masters. I always chuckle when I think about the biblical characters, and every one of them who had a connection with God betrayed him. How's that work?
Well, it's the human lesson, right? It's the human growth. I'll call it the human growth hormone. Because if you didn't mess up, how would you learn? How would he teach you your lesson or bring your lesson?
You're right. We learn through mistakes. We learn to err. We learn through obstacles. We learn through bad choices. For most human beings, you're making up bad choices. You finally say, "I've had it."
I'm the queen.
All right. Sorry to interrupt, but we are coming back.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah.
Empowerment.com.
You are listening to Guided Spirit Conversations. To reach Marla Goldberg or her guest today, you're invited to call into the program at 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. If you'd rather send an email, the address is guidedspiritconversations@gmail.com. Now, back to this week's program.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for sticking around. If you've just tuned in, I am speaking with Charles Paul Curcio. Charles is one of the directors of Delphi University up in McKaysville, Georgia. And I say up because it's in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And he is a gifted healer. He is a teacher. He is in service to God. And we are talking everything about metaphysics and lessons learned and male, female balancing energies. So welcome back, Charles.
Well, that's a hard act to follow. Thank you.
You've got a lot to offer. When we went off to break, we were talking about the male and female energy and how you really need to balance because it was about coming to our spiritual paths later in life for many people. And so how does one realize when they're off balance? When their masculine or their feminine is way taken over?
Well, everything seems to go wrong in life, I think. Men have a strong male directive energy, and that's necessary. A woman's going to face challenges in life, for instance, and if she doesn't have her male energy, she's not going to be able to deal with them. By the same token, a man lacks sensitivity until he embraces that feminine aspect of himself. It's interesting. The first miracle of Christ was the wedding feast at Cana. And they go on and talk for paragraphs about the wedding garment of the bride and how it was radiant and color and glow. Does anybody really think they were talking about the wedding dress? He was talking about the mystical marriage, the marriage of the non-physical marriage of the masculine and feminine within. The end result of that produces Christ consciousness. And so when he was talking about the wedding garment, he was talking about the light body, the effect that's created, the effect that's created through that unification of male and female. Without that, we can't be whole. And so it's really the journey is about wholeness, and the end game, the payoff for the journey is Christ consciousness.
It's true. We've got a caller. So Deb in Nebraska, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I was listening to your story, and it was so incredible about your father. I just wanted to say God bless you. That's amazing. And you talked a little bit about intuition and following downloads and things that you get from the spirit world. And it's interesting because I think over the last year, I've definitely been going through what you call a spiritual awakening. In fact, the other night at like 3:33 in the morning, I woke up just out of nowhere, set up so quickly, and I had like a download, and all I remember the download was like God saying to me, my child, I will always take care of you. And then I woke up. It was so strange.
Well, you got to watch those numbers, 333. That is definitely the Christ vibration.
Right. Well, and as I was listening to your talk about your father, I looked at my radio on my car, and it's 11:11 when you were telling that story.
How cool. Well, I think that must have meaning for you, for sure.
Yeah. So I think, in addition to maybe a question or a comment, you talk about intuition, and you made a comment about how when you first started getting into this, you couldn't learn enough. And that's the way I feel, like a sponge. I can't absorb enough information. I'm just fascinated about, all kinds of things in the spiritual realm, the Reiki, the past life regression, and many other things. And I just wondered if there's any tools or anything you could I know I've recently gotten into buying a lot of crystals. So when I meditate, I hold crystals in my hand. But is there any type of guidance or anything you tell me that would help me?
Yeah, I think so. First of all, it's like this whole new world is opening up for you, right? I mean, oh my God, I didn't know these things existed. And so,
I didn't either. I didn't either.
yeah, no, I was actually speaking for you, but I mean, it's like you get excited, all of a sudden the door is opened. And by the way, how did you happen? How did it occur for you? Everybody has some type of experience or wake up call, as we call it. How did it happen for you? What changed in your life?
Well, it's interesting. Over the last 2 years, my husband died. He went into the hospital, had a back operation. The next day, he had a spinal leak. The next day, they had to do quadruple bypass because he had a silent heart attack. Spent 6 weeks in the hospital. Came home and died on my basement floor.
Yeah. Well, that'll do
at
it.
69.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
And it was really. This was 2 years ago now in April.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I was trying to do, I know his spirit's probably still in our home where he died. And so that kind of got me started thinking about all the different energy and vibrations and intuition. And I'm always studying about all this. I love Marla. I love her shows. She's so helpful with all this stuff. And I just can't learn enough. I made a friend with a psychic medium who she and I have had conversations about my husband, and that's been helpful. But it's all just sort of unfolded, and the downloads and the intuition that I have is just getting stronger and stronger every day. And I feel so blessed because I consider this such a gift.
It is indeed a gift. Do you meditate?
Yes, every day.
Yeah, good for you. That's how you get the download. You plug in, you get the download.
Well, the other day I was meditating and I asked the universe to send me a red cardinal as I started meditating. And when I got done meditating, I opened my curtain in my bedroom window and there was a red cardinal sitting in my birch tree right outside my bedroom window, just staring at, like, it looked like he was staring in my bedroom. It was so freaky.
You called for it. You called for it, so there it was.
A voyeur cardinal.
I love cardinals too. They're my favorite bird.
Yeah, well, and I always seem to see a lot of cardinals where I live, and little bunny rabbits have been sick lately, but cardinals and a lot of hawks.
Oh wow, they eat the cardinals. But they're pretty good. They're pretty good at evasion. I've seen that. I've seen it before. When you work with crystals, I can give you a tip on what to do with in meditation with crystals. First of all, take the.
Okay.
It's got to be a quartz crystal. It's got to fit in your hand, and you got to be able to turn it. Clear quartz works the best.
Okay.
So just breathe through your nose, turn that crystal in your hand. What happens when a crystal connects with human energy? It changes polarities. It goes from a sender to a receiver. So you'll feel it gets sticky in your hand, and that's how you know it connected. So just keep turning it and breathing, and point determination to your third eye. Just rotate it until you feel the energy just connect or lock. You may feel light from your third eye to the crystal, or vice versa, the crystal to your third eye. And then you're going to take 2 deep breaths. You're going to pull your consciousness into the back of your head, and you send it into the crystal twice. Then you're going to find yourself inside that crystal, and there'll be a number of doorways or portals. Just find the one you're attracted to, go through it, and typically something's going to happen in there. It could be a past life. It could be you might meet some of your spiritual friends. And so you're doing there, you explore there, and you literally just come back out of that room or that where the door led you, and just put the crystal back up to your forehead, withdraw your consciousness, and you'll be good to go. I think you'd be very surprised at how significant those type of journeys can be.
Okay, thank you. I was been drawn to moldavite lately, so I bought a moldavite ring and a moldavite necklace, and I love it.
Yeah, the moldavite's off planet. That's not.
It's powerful.
Moldavite,
Right.
a meteor hit Poland in the 16th century that created moldavite. Some people
I read about that.
some people can't handle it, and it really upsets their system. It's kind of interesting that you like it, and that's a good sign. I would continue to work with it.
Deb,
I
thank
love
you
it. Well,
so
thank
much.
you so much.
We appreciate
you.
you calling in, appreciate your conversation.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, you too, Deb. We have Beth from Geneva, New York, wanting to talk to you, Charles. Welcome, Beth.
Hey, Beth.
Hi. Hi, Marla. Hi, Charles. I don't know if you remember me, Beth Lynch from Delphi, 1994-5.
Beth, who could forget you? How are you?
And I was telling Marla, I'm good. I was telling Marla how my color and sound class with you was one of my most terrifying moments in my life. I haven't shut up since.
Don't tell anybody it was
We got to use that throat chakra, Yeah, it was my first introduction to color and sound and frequency in my throat chakra. So thanks for that, because I'm quite busy using it for the last 2 decades.
Come a long way since then, Beth, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was a great class. Do you still do that class there? I imagine you do, or it may have
I do, sure.
on some level. Yeah, great class. Highly recommend it. I send a lot of people, share a lot of Delphi love with people, and just good to hear your voice and, all good things, I guess. I'd like to get there someday again. You never know.
You should
Moving
come
back to Florida, so I'm relocating in May.
Where you going?
Well, we're going to relocate back to Florida because we moved up to New York about 20 years ago to be with my mother-in-law when she was ill, and now 20 years later, we're going back to Florida. So now Delphi is an easy drive away.
You were from Fort Lauderdale, right? In that area, Western Providence?
Yeah, I lived in Hollywood. I was down there for about 20 years. When I came across Delphi, that's where I was living, and in the 90s, and then like 2000, we had to move back here, and then we just never were able to turn around and go back. But now, 20 years later, see, there's no time. Follow your dreams, and that was I enjoyed listening to your guidance to that lady with the crystal. I'm going to do that little meditation later.
Cool. I think you'll really like it. It really is very effective. One thing I forgot to tell her is once you send the consciousness into it, put your hand back down in your lap. You don't have to hold it at your third eye.
Right. Got ya. But yeah, it's good to hear your voice, and please give Kimberly a hug and my love. And I love staying in touch with everybody on, the social media, Facebook, whatever. You never leave Delphi once you've been there.
Yeah.
Marla, because I know you've been there now, right?
Yeah, a lot. I think I've been there 6 times in 1 year.
Yeah, I think when I did it, it was 3 really close together, and then I got pregnant, and that changed a lot of things for me.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad you
Well,
called,
anyway,
Beth.
yeah, I'm glad I got to call in. I just left the high school doing meditation with them for a couple hours, so I saw the email, and I'm like, oh, I want to call in and say hi. So thank you, and still grateful for all the energy and love you opened me to over there, Charles and Delphi always. And here we are, 2021. That was 1994.
Wow.
Crazy.
Time flies. We were just talking about how fast time goes.
Yeah, time does fly. You
Mhm.
can bullet.
Yeah.
Many blessings, Beth.
Yeah.
Wish you continue success.
Yes, thank you. You too. Give everyone my love. Bye, Marla. We'll talk
Bye.
soon.
We will. Take care, Beth. Bye-bye. Well, Beth brought a perfect segue in. Let's talk about Delphi University. I know that we were laughing before we got on how, you went for a class and pretty much moved in and haven't left since.
That's true. I didn't even know what I was coming to class for. You know how I got to Delphi?
I don't.
Like our earlier caller talked about how you get excited and then this whole new world opens up and all that. So I went into a bookstore, and one of my sons calls me up and said, "Hey, Dad, there's a new age bookstore that just opened up." And he says, "I know you're into that stuff." He actually said crap, but he said, "So I thought I'd call you and tell you." So I go to the place the next night after work. It's about 5 or 6. I walk in, and the woman, the owner, Karen Walters, she's looking at me, and I'm thinking she recognizes me from the TV commercials I was doing, right? But she says to me, she says, "You need to go to Delphi." I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I'm compelled to tell you. She said, "I may have a brochure. Let me go look." So she resurfaces about 10 minutes later with a piece of paper It says in-depth channeling at the Arthur Ford Academy at Delphi. So I take this piece of paper. I collected maybe another dozen or so brochures. Like all people knew on the path, I'm a collector. So I take that. So I take the pile and I add it to the huge pile on my desk. So that next morning, I walk into my office. I trip. I catch myself on the desk, and the pile goes flying off. Except for this piece of paper, it pops out and it spins slowly 3 times. And I said, "Wow, that was weird." But I blow it like most people. These supernatural type of events. You just kind of I must have been having a hard day or something. So I put it back in the pile. An hour later, my administrative assistant, she walks in, she trips and catches herself, does the same trip, catches herself on the desk. Must have been the spiritual trip, right? Catches herself on the desk. The pile goes flying by, and this brochure is really just a piece of paper, pops out and goes in the middle of my desk, and it spins slowly 3 times. I said, "Beth, did you see that?" She said, "Yeah, that was pretty weird." I said, "Hey, I know. Here, call this place. I'm going to go there." So that's how I got to Delphi, the spinning brochure. And so at that point, any sign I was accepting, it didn't matter. Yeah, okay. And so I wound up at Delphi. It's kind of interesting. I started my classes at Delphi the day after I retired from Kingdom.
Oh, wow.
The day after. Well, I turned in my notice, and then they asked me to leave. So thank you. So it like one life had ended, then the next one had just begun. And so I did go to Delphi. What an amazing place.
And little
said,
did you know where it would lead you.
I had no idea. I just knew I was really juiced up about spirit and God, and I was going to follow that no matter what. And so I came to Delphi. I was here 2 weeks the first time, and I left. And 2 months later, I was here for good. I was kind of directed here anyway. I was told by someone that you're going to go to a spiritual school, and of course they couldn't tell me where that was. I was told by another reader that I was going to divorce my wife and move to the Blue Ridge Mountains. Well, I had none of that was in my mind or my consciousness, at least not at that point. And so I had all these clues, and then I was told by an astrologer that all of these circumstances you're feeling are going to culminate in the beginning of August. I came here August 9th, 1995.
Wow.
And they're going to culminate, and you're going to find the place you've been looking for. And so I came to Delphi. Delphi's been around almost 50 years.
A long time.
Yeah, I started out as the Arthur Ford Academy, and then it evolved into Delphi University. When I got here, we created the temples of wisdom and healing and light. And fortunately, because of my business success, I was able to do some things here that I might not have been able to, I wouldn't have been able to do. And so we're sitting here. We're the 3 states, North Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee, come together. We're in an energy vortex. This is the old Cherokee ceremonial grounds where our school is located, and underneath the ground here are deposits of copper and silver. Still looking for the silver. but copper-based minerals, I know why we're here, and not just the fact that the area has been spiritual for a long time, but copper-based minerals reveal blocks, mental blocks, emotional blocks, physical blocks in people. So it's no wonder that this is where we finally wound up, where the school wound up. Started out to be a vacation home for Patricia and Marshall, and they just started adding buildings as they were able to. And it was always been a struggle, not a struggle per se, but you have to really work hard to be successful.
Yeah, it's true. Charles, we have to put you on hold for 1 second. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. We're going to have more with Charles Curcio, and we're going to talk more about Delphi University.
Good job. We're all clear. Back in a couple minutes.
Thanks, Matt. Did I ever tell you, Charles, about my experience with the Native Americans? So in November, when I was there, I was driving my little golf cart down to, to the Rohan building. And all of a sudden, I was freezing. I didn't bring the right clothes. And all along the left side were Native Americans on horseback and on foot. And they were just watching me drive my little golf cart down. If I wasn't so cold, I would have stopped to try to converse. but it was like, oh my God, this is phenomenal.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah, it was a great experience. Like every once in a while I see, the spirits is like, whoa. Like in your office, there were a little while ago, there were a lot, it was a very full space behind you.
Uh-huh. Oh, no kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not singing now, but a little while, when you first came on, there was a lot of activity behind you.
Oh, well, I'm in Kimberly's office, which is interesting too. Yeah.
Oh, that is interesting. So, but yeah, things are opening up and it's amazing. So hopefully we're getting another caller too when we get online.
Okay.
And Vicky in Virginia will be speaking to. I don't know if you recognize it or not. That's why I'm telling you.
Oh, no, I don't. Vicky in Virginia.
Vicky in Virginia. It sounds like a TV thing. I was just watching them. It's like, it just flows. Vicky in Virginia.
Yeah. Very Vicky in Virginia.
Well, it's yeah. So what would you like to talk about that I know that there's a whole bunch on here that we haven't covered, so I'll have to have you back. But in the meantime, I want to make sure that everything that you want to talk about is addressed. So if I'm missing anything, let me know.
Well, there was one thing that I could talk about was
All right, Marla, we're coming back in just a couple seconds.
Okay, I'm sorry, say it quickly.
that was my wake up call.
Okay.
Under the banyan tree. That it was all bets are off after that.
You are listening to Guided Spirit Conversations. To reach Marla Goldberg or her guest today, you're invited to call into the program at 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. If you'd rather send an email, the address is guidedspiritconversations@gmail.com. Now, back to this week's program.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. And thank you for sticking around. If you're just tuning in, I'm with Charles Paul Curcio. He is one of the directors of Delphi University. He is a healer, teacher, and he's an obedient, I hope you don't mind me using the word, servant to God and wants to do God's work. And so welcome back, Charles.
Thank you.
I know this is charity. I'm sorry. I think you're pretty obedient. I think you're pretty obedient. You've been doing this now,
Yeah.
And growing and sharing for what, 25 years?
Yes.
A long time.
25 years now. Yeah.
But this is charity shout out time. So I want to hit charity shout out. Yours is Little Sisters of the Poor. And let's talk about Little Sisters of the Poor a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think they really do good work. I mean, they help people in need. They help people that are old. It's funny that I would endorse a Catholic charity. I'm an ex-Catholic, but I'm a former Catholic, not an ex-Catholic. I don't guess you ever become an ex-Catholic. But the religious affiliation doesn't matter to me at all. It's really what they do. I think when we start to look at people not for what they are, but really for what they do, and see their character and not their appearance, I think that you have a whole different attitude. If you can look in somebody's eyes and see their suffering and feel compassion, I think that's really a milestone in existence, because then all of a sudden you're looking through the eyes of God, which happen to be your own.
It's so true. It's so true. So this Little Sisters of the Poor, check them out at littlesistersofthepoor.org and see how you can help them out as they are helping those less fortunate. Charles, you have a fan club. We've got Vicky in Virginia waiting for you. So let's go to Vicky in Virginia.
Hello.
Hi, Vicky.
Hi, I have a question for Charles, and actually for both of you, I guess. I am a engineer by career, which is kind of antithetical to the spiritual side, because of my rational brain. And I'm retired now. I'm in my 60s, but I have I've started to, I know this sounds weird, but I can kind of see, for lack of a better term, I can see deceased people around others sometimes, and I receive messages of love to their family members. And so I took a mediumship 1 class just on a whim, and it was recommended to me that I go to Delphi, but I'm doubting this because of my engineering background. So my question is, what do you do for people like me? I'm also a Catholic Christian, and I receive love in these messages, and I want to give these messages of love to these people. But my brain is also doubting what's going on. So how do we deal with this? And is Delphi a good fit for someone like me?
It's interesting. One of our founders was an engineer, and he worked for Kimberly-Clark Paper Company's executive vice president. It's about relaxing that mind. You can't. When I first started meditating, people say, "Oh, put your thoughts out of your mind." How do you do that? I've never learned how to put them out. Have learned how to relax into it. People from all walks of life come to Delphi. I mean, I'm telling you, you name it, we've got somebody from that profession. We've even had a couple of nuns. We had a rabbi once. So it's not about what you do. And I know you have a sharp mind and a analytical mind, but that won't be a deficit. Don't let your subconscious block your progress. Whether you come to Delphi or not, that's not material. What's important is that you follow and stay on that spiritual path. So we've had engineers come through before, and we will in the future. We've had big thinkers, and we've had others that are more, how do I say it? More they run more with their feeling nature. Not too many men do that, by the way. But so we accommodate whoever comes. Delphi is not for everybody, but everybody who wants to enter into the spiritual path or continue and enhance their abilities, they can come here and we can teach them how to do that.
And I'm just wanting to jump in, Vicki, and just add, my husband's an engineer, and he was a non-believer until he married me. And now he's going up to Delphi in the month of May. So it's truly not who you are, that's what you do. So if you can, like Charles said, relax your mind and just go with the flow and open and just be open, it's amazing what you would learn.
Okay, yeah, because I can sense the feelings and where people are at, and I can feed off of that. So and I have no desire to make a career of this. I just want to help people. I've already had a career. So that's not my interest. My interest is just in sharing the love that I'm getting from the other side. And so that's why it was recommended that I go there by somebody who's already been there. And I just wanted to know if it was a good place for me with the background that I have. So thank you for that information.
Well, thank you, Vicki. I appreciate you calling in and hope to see you at Delphi.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki.
Okay, we've got Patty in Green, Ohio waiting on the line for you, Charles.
Hey, Patty.
Hi, guys. How are you?
How are you doing?
We're good. We're rocking here it's raining. It's a rainy day in Georgia. I don't know what it's like in
Oh, we finally have a nice day in Ohio. So I've never heard of this place, and loving everything that you're saying, and I love Marla. And I just wanted to say thank you for sharing today.
Oh, yeah. You're welcome. They say that Delphi is the best kept secret in the world.
It truly is.
Yeah, I'm heading down to Florida. We're going to be leaving Friday night. My daughter lives down there, so I'm going to be coming down for a week. But I am going to be looking into this, and I think it's like divine intervention. You know, when the letter spun around 3 times on your desk, I'm going to be. This is a sign, so I'm going to be looking at some things, and I appreciate you being on today.
Well, we hope to see you here. What really, why we're here, why we do what we do, is we witness and experience the transformation in the people that come through. It's quite miraculous, the difference between when a person comes and when they finish. It's unbelievable. I mean, and I'm still, how do I say it, enamored with it, because it's always miraculous each time, and it's not like somebody turns on a light, all of a sudden a person transitions from one place to the next. And I think that'll happen for you here too, Delphi. It happens for everybody.
I think so. I mean, I have a business in Ohio, but there's always room for growth, and there's always divine connections. So I'm looking forward to it, and I will search you out. Sound good?
DelphiU.com.
I got it on my computer in front of me. All right, you guys take care, and thank you.
Patty, thanks for calling in. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening.
Bye, Marla. Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care. Well, Charles, you have a fan club.
Oh, wow. Never had one of those before.
I don't know, after those commercials. Okay, everybody, I want you to go check out Charles' commercial on YouTube. What would it be? TireKingdom.com, under Tire Kingdom, or Charles Curcio on YouTube?
Actually, Chuck Curcio is what I used to call myself.
Okay, Chuck Curcio. Oh my God, you know what? There's nothing better than laughter to raise your vibration. And you will just get into these commercials and laugh and really sort of raise up.
They're really bad.
But they're fun. But
I tell people the only fun I had in business was making those commercials. I really hope they came out well.
Well, it's an outlet. It's a creative outlet. And you were great at helping to create. I know you told me you were part of the creative force behind the commercial. So that was wonderful. Well, it looks like our time is running down. I do want to have you back if you're willing. If you want to check out Charles, you can check out DelphiU.com to find out about the school, the program. It's phenomenal. You can tell I talk about it because I go there for continuing education. I've been doing this 20 years, and I'm going for more education and learning more and opening up more. And thanks to Charles and the whole community up at Delphi. It's like a little womb, like a comfortable womb. That's how I feel about the energy up there. So thank you so much for participating in this. Where else can they reach you? Your direct email address is it Charles? Yeah, Charles at Delphi U.
My direct email is amoredeo@aol.com. AMOREDEO.
So if you have Amoredeo.
Amoredeo, yes.
What is it? Love?
It means to love the Lord.
Lord. So if you want to reach out to Charles directly and ask him any questions, please feel free. Charles, thank you so much. I'm so grateful that you're here today and that we're able to have some of these stories come to light. I want to thank everyone at voiceamerica.com for all you do, helping me get the show up and running and keeping me on schedule and on time. I want to thank Bridget for all you do for me. You're my right arm, my left arm. I'm so grateful for you each and every day. I am grateful for you, the listener, for taking time out of your day, out of your life to participate in this by listening, watching, however it is. So grateful. I want to remind you that I'm doing a 30-day meditation challenge. Check it out on my website, MarlaGoldberrg with 2Rs.com. And feel free to check it out and sign up in advance so you can get your promotional pre-run discount. Anyway, until the next time, as always, I send you love, I send you blessings, I send you gratitude. Know how loved you are, know how grateful I am that you're in my life in whatever capacity you're in it. And I want you to, I'm sending you wishes to stay well and stay happy. Till the next time, take care.